Hey, thanks for watching another Java with John video. Java with John AZ video. Very much appreciate it. Have my cup of coffee. Yes, that is a Justice League mug given to me one of my best friends. Coffee, real cream, well, milk, and a little sweetener in there. So we're public speaking. I was talking with a client about webinars and presentations, and a lot of people fear public speaking, as I'm sure you've heard that some fear it more than death. So he's not one of them. His challenge is not talking in public. It's a matter of talking too much sometimes because he doesn't organize his thoughts. Because anytime you public speak, it's preparation and practice. Two sides that you need to know. And the first thing you need to do is know your audience. Who are you talking to? Especially demographics. But, what are their expectations? What are they looking for? And I mentioned demographics because a number of years ago, an oil company hired me to come speak to their new first-time supervisors about leadership. And this was back in, I believe it was 2010. And yes, I remember this because I was all prepared and I made a lot of references to the terror attacks and things that happened on September 11th. And when I arrived, whether I simply forgot to ask or neglected to ask or just assumed, an assumption is the mother of all screw-ups, instead of talking to a group that was in my age group, and that would have been somebody, at the time in their 40, 50-ish range, maybe mid-30s. I was talking to a group that would have been 10 years old. And so a lot of the things that I was referencing, they were too young to understand. So, yes, I ended up modifying my presentation a little bit to fit the slides still, make it relevant for them. They took it out, but know who you're talking to and know what's expected and needed. Need to know what the message is that's to be conveyed. Are you persuading somebody? Are you informing, entertaining, inspiring? Because a lot of that depends on word choice, content, materials, if you're going to be using slides. I'll get to that in a minute. So you want to know what everybody expects from your message. What's the purpose of your message? Excuse me. Then most importantly, you want to engage your audience. Okay, because you're up there and everyone's looking at you. Whether they expect anything or not, they're looking at you expecting something worthwhile. Whether they get anything out of it or not is up to you and what you present. But you have to engage them. And so you're up there basically telling a story. You need a beginning, middle, and end, like most stories have. So make sure that you have a good flow to what you're presenting. Key takeaways, they have to be relevant and useful. That would be part of the messaging also. And again, it depends on if you're just informing, persuading, inspiring, whatever it may be. Now, I had mentioned about doing slides, PowerPoint or otherwise, or not doing them. For a lot of years, for more recent years, let's say about the last 10 years or so, the use of slides has kind of dwindled a little bit, but again, it goes by what you're doing. If you're doing a webinar, unless it's a round table or a panel, you're going to end up having some sort of visual presentation. If it's an in-person event, some of it's going to be based on technology, what's available. Do they have a way to project your slides on a screen or a wall? Do you have your own equipment to do that if you're doing presentations often enough? When you do slides or not do them, you do what's important to communicate your message. If I'm talking about dogs and cats, playing out in a field, chances are they have a visual of dogs and cats playing out in a field. Might be playing baseball for all I know, but that would be one. But just make sure that it fits your message. Also make them easy to read. For every 10 feet away, your font size should be 1 inch big. Now, if you're making a slide on your computer using whatever program, you're not going to be making a 3-foot font for everybody, because if you're presenting live, obviously this screen is going to make the font look bigger. If you're on a web call, they'll be able to see it if you use a decent sized font. Keep in mind, I've seen slides where somebody puts an entire annual spreadsheet talking about the entire company's financials. And if you think that's small, if you're trying to read a spreadsheet up close and personal, you should see what it looks like from 25 feet away. So it's a great way to turn off people. Another way to turn off your audience is just reading the slides. That is boring AF. Don't read the slides. Your slides are supposed to enhance your message, as I've said. So make sure whatever is presented on the screen complements exactly what you're saying. If you're going to show a video or go to some website, number one, part of your preparation when you arrive is to make sure everything's working. But I can tell you right now, if you're doing anything over the internet live, it's a crapshoot. Most times there's a problem with any sort of presentation I've seen is when they expect to be able to go on to streaming video service or some website and the internet sucks, or the website's down, or there's too much buffering trying to show the video because the technology of the presentation location is terrible. So if you're going to stream a video, download it, put it on your laptop, put it on a stick drive or whatever, and you have it with you just in case. That is the worst thing. And yes, I did say ones I've watched. I have rarely used a live website to show any of my presentations for that very reason. I always took screenshots, shared those, and it also gave me a chance to highlight, arrow, mark up, whatever needed to be done. So once you have your presentation written, got your slides built, if you're going to use them, the next thing is practice. Practice. You're going to read through it, obviously. You've already written it. You're going to read through it a couple times out loud to see if there's anything that sounds weird. But at a certain point, you're going to have to get away from sitting on your butt and actually stand up as if you're giving the real presentation. There's a whole lot of difference between sitting and reading and actually standing to perform. Whether you do it in front of a mirror or somewhere else, that's up to you. I've done it both ways. I've done it just standing on a street corner. I had nothing better to do. I know that sounds weird, and I do get strange looks. I suggest that you always have cue cards. I put a little 3x5 card in my hand, topics. All I do is topics. I know the content of each. I just put in reminders so I don't miss anything. Last thing you want to happen is what happened a number of years ago, presidential inauguration, and somebody forgot their place in the book and couldn't read the oath for the president, the incoming president to repeat. So always have notes. As a matter of fact, you want to have backups too, but I'll get that out in a moment. Standing up and actually rehearsing gives you an idea of your pace as well. Because when you stand up and present, like I do here, I use my hands all the time. Problem of being half Italian. If it's just the single digit on one hand, that's the New Yorker in me coming out. So you want to have your pace because you only have a limited time. Every Java with John video is timed to end by the time you finish a cup of coffee. It's not exact because I'm getting the content in there. You're also going to want to think of what questions might be asked for you if you have a Q&A session. This way you're prepared to have answers. In the event that there is a Q&A session and nobody asks questions, engage your audience with some. Ask them something relevant or that's connected to the presentation you gave. Get them engaged, get them talking. So this way you can have a little bit of banter back and forth as well. No matter what happens, the show must go on. I had mentioned backups. I always carry 2 of everything with me to every presentation. 2 scripts, 2 cue cards, 2 pens, 2 bottles of water, 2 flash drives, just in case. 1 laptop. I'm good looking, not rich. So, and then you want to test everything. I arrive in time, well in advance. Test everything. Presentation, slideshow, projector, internet, if you're going to be using it, everything else like that. So make sure everything works before you hit the stage live. I would suggest having some sort of a takeaway for the audience, handouts of some sort. You can leave a couple generic ones in the beginning, but if it's anything substantial to read, save it for afterwards. Gives you a chance to distribute it after. You can walk the crowd if it's a small enough gathering to hand it out. If it's a webinar, obviously, you just email it. If you have a presentation, always have that printed out as well. At least a few copies. Everybody wants a copy. They can always email you and ask for a copy. And then you also have contact information for a later date, but that's a different story. And then if you have an opportunity, whether the host does it or not, ask for feedback. I've used printed surveys. I left them on the table. Simple. 5 scale. 1 is great. 5 is great. 1 needs improvement. Ask for suggestions. What was great? What needs improvement? What topics are important to them? And then you can also ask if they want to be put on your mailing list or whatever else you may be offering, or if they want a copy of the presentation. After the event, before you leave, make sure you thank the host. Find out what they thought about it, because they're the ones that invited you. They put their neck on the line for you, so they get a chance on you to speak. So be sure to thank them. Follow it up with a handwritten thank you note. You'll be amazed how much that has value. Shows your professionalism and the fact that, honestly, you care. It's the reason why I do it. Checking again if at that point if there's any communication afterwards, if there's any additional feedback, and always ask if things went well. You think, ask for opportunity to present again sometime in the future. There's a couple of Rotary clubs in my life where I would present a formal presentation 3, maybe 4 times a year, but Rotarians meet weekly, and sometimes they have a speaker bail out last minute. I was always one of their go-to people because I could talk on a variety of different subjects. So prepare and practice. You'll do great. If you feel the need for additional training, look at your community college. I'm sure they have speech classes, drama classes, always good. My dad made me enroll in drama. Toastmasters, there's several other different civic groups, community groups that offer speaking and leadership ways to interact. So you can always learn from there too. But the big thing is just do it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become. So hope to see you sometime doing a live or a webinar. That would be great. I'm going to finish up my cup of coffee. I hope you have a great day, great week, great year.